Imagine waking up, doing your morning workout, drinking that absolute perfect cup of coffee, and just feeling like a total superhero of productivity.
Oh, yeah. The best feeling.
Right. You are completely ready to conquer the world, master a new skill, and finally do that really hard thing you've been putting off.
Mm-hmm.
You are unstoppable. Up until you look out the window, notice a single, slightly suspicious-looking cloud, and then use it as an excuse to just completely abandon your goals for the entire day.
Yeah, it's a remarkable piece of psychological self-sabotage, isn't it? We build these elaborate, invisible walls out of like nothing but thin air and light precipitation.
Exactly. And that is our mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking the fascinating, totally universal, and honestly kind of hilarious psychology of procrastination.
Absolutely.
We're drawing from an incredibly practical and funny source today. It's a transcript from a channel called Snowcat Speaks English.
Oh, yeah, hosted by Luna and Steven.
Yes, exactly. A duo named Luna and Steven. And the specific installment we're looking at is called No More Excuses. It's Time to Rise.
It's a great one.
Now, their material is specifically designed for people learning English. So for our audience, we are going to keep things clear, accessible, and, not get bogged down in overly dense jargon.
Right, keeping it light.
But make no mistake, the psychological barriers they discuss are the exact same barriers you face whenever you try to tackle literally any intimidating goal in your life.
Oh, the mechanics of avoidance are totally universal. I mean, whether you are trying to learn a new language, write a novel, start a business, the friction points in the human mind operate on the exact same principles.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we all have those goals we keep pushing off, right?
Definitely.
The source material dismantles these excuses with such humor and precision, and then provides these really practical steps to shatter that cycle today. But before we can conquer the excuse, we really need to understand what an excuse actually is. The source defines it simply as a story we tell ourselves when we don't want to do something, or, when we're secretly just a little afraid to do it.
Defining the enemy is crucial here. An excuse isn't a fact, right? It's a narrative.
Yeah.
It's this protective fiction constructed by the brain to shield our ego from, well, the discomfort of effort or the vulnerability of failure.
And this brings us right back to that guy looking at the cloud. This is an actual story from Steven, one of the hosts.
Just so funny.
It is. He describes this highly motivated morning. He's up early, he's studying Italian, he's exercising. But then he confesses what happened the evening before.
Right.
He had fully intended to go to the gym, but he didn't. Why? Because he looked outside and decided the sky looked, in his exact words, suspicious.
Suspicious. It's just such a brilliantly absurd justification.
It's amazing. He thought, it might rain. So he stayed home. And the punchline is that it never rained.
Of course it didn't.
It was a beautiful evening. He skipped his entire workout because of a vaguely suspicious cloud. So I have to ask you, why do we actively hunt for external validation like a slightly cloudy sky to justify this internal reluctance?
Right, yeah.
It feels like we are, hiring a PR firm to spin our own laziness so we don't look bad to ourselves.
What's fascinating here is that your PR firm analogy is biologically accurate.
Really?
Yeah. You are describing how the brain resolves cognitive dissonance. So Stephen had a core intention, right? I am a disciplined person who goes to the gym.
Right.
But he also had an immediate conflicting desire. I am tired and I want to sit on the couch.
The eternal struggle.
Exactly. Now, if he just says, I'm staying home because I'm feeling lazy, well, that shatters his self-image. The psychological friction there is genuinely uncomfortable.
Well, I see.
So his brain desperately scans the environment for a scapegoat.
And the sky becomes the scapegoat.
Yes.
He didn't fail. The weather forced his hand.
Precisely. The suspicious sky is a gift to his ego. It preserves his identity as a motivated person while, still allowing him to stay on the couch.
Wow.
And this cognitive sleight of hand usually pivots on a single, incredibly dangerous word. The source correctly identifies what is probably the most destructive word in language learning and maybe in all of personal development.
The word but.
The word but.
Oh, the but. I really want to practice my English today, but.
Exactly. The word but functions as a psychological eraser.
A psychological eraser.
Yeah, in linguistics and psychology, it represents a shift in the locus of control. Everything you say before the but represents your ambition.
Right? It's good stuff.
And everything you say after it represents the story you are telling yourself to avoid the work. When you say, I want to learn, but I'm tired, you are actively canceling out your ambition.
You're just completely surrendering your agency to the excuse.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate escape hatch. I mean, think about your own morning today. To everyone listening, what was your suspicious sky? Did you convince yourself that your desk was just, a little too messy to sit down and study? Did you tell yourself the kitchen was too noisy?
I've definitely done the noisy kitchen one.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
It is wild how creative our inner PR firm gets.
Yeah.
But once we recognize this trick, once we see the suspicious sky for the fiction that it is, we can start dismantling the specific stories we tell.
Right.
And according to Luna and Steven, there is one excuse that reigns supreme: the heavyweight champion.
I don't have enough time.
Exactly. And let's be fair, people do have busy lives.
Oh, absolutely.
The source lists them out: work reports, family, endless chores. We aren't denying that reality, but the source completely debunks what they call the old way of thinking about learning.
Yeah, this is such an important distinction.
This old way assumes you need, 3 solid hours, a pristine desk, a giant heavy textbook, and a very serious, pained look on your face.
We culturally associate learning with suffering and endurance.
Yeah.
We really do. We think if we aren't sequestered in a silent library for 4 hours, it doesn't count.
Yes. And the source says that is completely wrong. Their solution is microlearning, 5 to 10-minute bursts.
Which is so much more manageable.
Totally. Listening to audio while the coffee is brewing, learning 3 words while waiting for the bus. And here's where it gets really interesting. They bring up a concept they playfully call philosophical dishwashing.
A wonderful concept.
The idea is that while you are standing there doing a mundane chore like washing a plate, you literally narrate what you are doing in simple English.
Right.
You say out loud, I am washing a plate. The plate is white. The water is warm. But I have to stop and push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because if I am trying to become fluent in a complex language, is looking at a plate and saying, the water is warm, really moving the needle?
It seems too simple, right?
It sounds a bit like we are just playing make-believe instead of doing actual rigorous study. How does that help?
It does sound incredibly simplistic, which is why most adults just dismiss it. But if we examine the underlying neuroscience of language acquisition, it is actually a masterful strategy.
Really? How so?
Well, first, it completely bypasses the excuse of needing extra time. You are already washing the dishes.
Right.
You don't have to carve out a new slot in your calendar. You are just overlaying practice onto a pre-existing physical habit. That eliminates the friction of starting.
Okay, so functionally, it guarantees the practice happens. I get that.
Yeah.
But what about the quality of the practice? Is it actually good practice?
That is the second and arguably more important benefit. It has to do with something linguists call the affective filter.
The affective filter, what's that?
Think of your brain's amygdala, the emotional processing center, as a bouncer at a nightclub.
Okay, a bouncer.
When you sit down at that pristine desk with a giant textbook and a serious face, you are usually stressed. You are worried about memorizing grammar rules.
Oh, totally. Sweating over conjugations.
Exactly. That stress releases cortisol, which signals the bouncer to cross his arms and block the door. Your affective filter goes up, and your brain literally blocks the encoding of new memories.
Wait, so trying too hard actually makes you learn less?
Yes. A stressed brain is a closed brain. But when you are washing dishes, feeling the warm water, and casually noticing the white plate, you are relaxed.
The bouncer steps aside.
The bouncer steps aside. Furthermore, by connecting physical sensory input, the feeling of the water directly to the English words, the water is warm, you are training your brain to exist in the new language natively.
Oh, wow.
You aren't translating from a textbook. You are experiencing the world in English, even if only for 5 minutes.
That makes total sense. You are building the neural pathway in a relaxed state. Contrast that with the miserable student trying to force information in. The dishwashing method is almost like play.
And play is the optimal state for human learning. It lowers the barrier to entry so drastically that the no time excuse simply disintegrates.
So, to everyone listening, if you have 5 minutes to stand in the kitchen and wait for your coffee today, you have the time to improve yourself, period. But, okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say we've solved the time problem. We are narrating our chores. What happens when the material itself just feels incredibly overwhelming?
Yeah, that's the next big hurdle.
This brings us to the second major excuse. The source tackles. English is too difficult. Or the classic, I'm just not good at languages.
This is a deeply entrenched belief system.
Oh.
It usually stems from the sheer scale of the ambition.
Right. The source identifies the root of this excuse as the big goal. They use the analogy of standing at the bottom of a massive mountain.
Mm-hmm.
If your goal is, I want to speak perfect English like a Hollywood movie star by next month, you're going to look up at that peak and feel totally paralyzed.
Because it's impossible.
The mountain looks impossible to climb.
Yeah.
So their advice is, stop staring at the mountain. Look at your feet. Take one small step.
Focus on the immediate.
Focus on small victories. Learn about your favorite food today. Learn the weather tomorrow.
It is about changing the metric of success from completion to progression.
I understand that mechanically, but let me challenge that for a second. If we only ever look at our feet and we actively ignore the peak of the mountain, don't we risk losing sight of our ultimate motivation?
It's a fair question.
If I don't keep the dream of fluency in my mind, won't I just wander aimlessly around the base of the mountain?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of behavioral psychology, the opposite is actually true.
Really?
Yeah. Constant focus on the peak doesn't generate motivation, it generates anxiety. When you stare at the top of the mountain, all your brain registers is the massive, insurmountable gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Oh, I see.
That gap feels like a continuous state of failure.
Because I'm not fluent yet, every day I look at the peak, I'm just reminding myself that I'm currently failing.
Precisely. It is emotionally exhausting. But when you shift your focus to your feet, you redefine success.
How so?
Success is no longer am I fluent. Success becomes, did I learn 3 words about the weather today? When you achieve that small victory, your brain releases a hit of dopamine.
The reward chemical.
Exactly. And that dopamine doesn't just make you feel good, it biologically compels you to want to take the next step. You are manufacturing a self-sustaining loop of motivation.
Gamifying your own brain.
Pretty much.
And the source actually reveals the ultimate weapon to trigger that dopamine and destroy the feeling of difficulty entirely. They explicitly state, fun destroys excuses.
It is the ultimate antidote to cognitive friction.
They say if you love music, don't read a boring grammar book, listen to English songs. If you love cooking, find a simple recipe for pasta in English and try to make it.
Right, integrate it into what you already enjoy.
By pairing the hard task with a pre-existing passion, you change the entire game. But it reminds me of a really funny moment in the source material regarding how we label ourselves to avoid this hard work.
Oh yeah, the math joke.
Yes, one of the hosts is talking about how some people claim their brain is only built for math, not languages. And the other host immediately jumps in and goes, hey, careful, math people are very sensitive.
It's a great comedic beat, but it highlights a profound psychological trap, using identity as a shield.
Exactly. We put ourselves in these rigid little boxes. I'm a math person. I'm a visual learner. I'm not a language person.
Mm-hmm.
We use these self-assigned labels as a fortress to hide inside so we never have to face the vulnerability of being a beginner at something new.
Because being a beginner is inherently uncomfortable, it means admitting incompetence.
Yeah, it does.
When you say I'm not a language person, you are absolving yourself of the responsibility to try. It is basically another form of the suspicious sky.
Which perfectly bridges us to the next and arguably most terrifying barrier. Let's assume you found the time. You're looking at your feet, taking small steps, and having fun making your English pasta.
Sounds lovely.
What happens the moment you actually have to open your mouth and speak to another human being?
You collide with the perfectionism trap, the sheer physiological terror of looking foolish.
Yes, the excuse is, I am afraid to speak because people will laugh at me.
Yes,
Stephen is wonderfully vulnerable about this in the source.
he really is.
He admits that when he first started speaking Italian, his heart would hammer in his chest every single time he tried to form a sentence.
Yeah.
This isn't just a mental block. This is a full-blown physiological fight-or-flight response.
The body is reacting to a perceived social threat. In evolutionary terms, looking foolish or being ostracized by the tribe was dangerous.
Like literally dangerous to your survival.
Exactly. Our modern nervous system still reacts to a mispronounced verb as if it were a physical danger.
It is so intense. But the source offers this brilliant mindset shift. They say we have to realize that mistakes are actually our friends. And they use an analogy that I find incredibly moving. They ask us to picture a baby who is just learning how to walk.
It is a perfect distillation of the learning process.
Think about it. When a little baby takes a wobbly step, stumbles and falls flat on their diaper. What do the adults in the room do?
They don't mock them.
Do they point and laugh? Do they say, wow, your walking technique is garbage. You should really just stay on the floor until you have mastered the biomechanics of the human stride?
It would be monstrous to treat a child that way.
It would be insane. Instead, we clap. We say, good job. Try again. We actively applaud the stumble because we inherently understand that falling down is the exact mechanism by which the baby learns balance.
Right.
The mistake isn't a failure. It is the data required for success. So the source asks, why are we so incredibly cruel to ourselves when we learn?
We really are.
If you aren't making mistakes, it means you are hiding in your comfort zone. And as they bluntly put it, nothing grows in the comfort zone.
To grow, you must be willing to endure the stumble. It requires redefining the goal of a conversation.
Okay, how so?
If the goal is grammatical perfection, then every mistake is a crisis. But if the goal is connection and growth, then a mistake is just feedback.
And to that end, the source gives us two golden rules.
Right.
First, communication, not perfection. If you point to a coffee cup and use the wrong verb tense, but the barista hands you a coffee, the communication was 100% successful. You won. But the second rule is the one I really want to dig into. They state, a smile is the best grammar in the world.
A smile is the best grammar in the world. It's a beautiful sentiment.
So what does this all mean? Because I have to be honest, I am going to push back on this pretty hard.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
I love a good, warm, fuzzy, inspirational quote as much as the next person. But practically speaking, if I am trying to negotiate a rental agreement in a foreign country or explain a severe food allergy to a waiter, a bright smile is not going to magically conjugate my verbs or save me from a misunderstanding.
That's true.
Where is the line between a smile being a social lubricant and just being an excuse for actual incompetence?
That is a very valid critique. A smile does not replace vocabulary. If you need to communicate a life-threatening peanut allergy, you need the right words, not just a grin.
Exactly.
However, the source isn't suggesting that a smile is a substitute for study. They are highlighting a biological hack that facilitates the study you have already done.
Okay, walk me through that. How is a smile a biological hack?
Let's go back to Stephen's rapidly beating heart. When you are terrified of making a mistake, your sympathetic nervous system activates. You are in fight or flight mode.
Right.
As we discussed with the affective filter, this state literally shuts down the cognitive centers of your brain responsible for memory retrieval. You might know the vocabulary word for peanut, but because you are panicked about your grammar, your brain cannot access it.
You freeze up. You literally go blank.
Exactly. Now, what happens when you smile?
What happens?
The physical act of smiling, even a forced one, triggers a release of endorphins and signals to your own vagus nerve that you are safe. It physically lowers your heart rate.
Wow.
It deactivates the fight or flight response. By smiling, you are quite literally calming your own nervous system down so that your brain can access the vocabulary you worked so hard to learn.
Wow. So the smile isn't just for the other person. It is a tool to regulate my own panic.
It is for both of you. For the listener, the smile disarms them. It signals vulnerability. The source points out a crucial truth about human nature. Most people are kind. If a native speaker sees you making a genuine, vulnerable effort to speak their language, their instinct is to help you, not to mock you.
That's so true.
The smile bridges the gap of perfect grammar with human empathy.
That drastically shifts the perspective. It isn't about ignoring grammar. It is about creating the optimal internal and external environment to actually use the grammar you have.
Exactly.
It brings us right back to extending that parental grace to ourselves. If we can smile at our own stumbling, just like we smile at the baby, we achieve the ultimate goal, human connection.
It prioritizes the function of language connecting with another mind over the sterile structure of it.
All right, so we've handled the fear of looking foolish. We are smiling, we are stumbling like toddlers, we are philosophically washing our dishes. For our final segment, we need to confront the remaining logistical and existential excuses that keep us trapped.
The big ones.
Let's start with the existential one, age. The too old excuse. Luna, one of the hosts, talks about her uncle, who constantly uses this defense. He says, "My brain is too old for new tricks."
Oh, we've all heard that.
I think everyone listening has either heard someone say this or secretly feared it themselves. I missed the boat. You have to learn when you're a kid.
It is perhaps the most pervasive and paralyzing myth in adult education, and it is entirely rooted in outdated science.
Yes, the source immediately shuts this down. The reality is that the adult brain is entirely capable of learning at any age.
Absolutely.
They introduced this fantastic concept, calling language learning the brain gym. It is literal exercise for your mind to keep it strong. And as they joke, there's no membership fee.
I love that.
But I want to understand the mechanics here. What is actually happening in the brain gym?
This brings us to the concept of neuroplasticity. Decades ago, scientists believed that after a certain age, the brain's physical structure became fixed, like concrete. We thought if you didn't learn something by age 20, the concrete was dry. But modern fMRI technology proved this completely wrong.
Completely wrong.
Yes, the brain is plastic, it is malleable. Every single time you learn a new English word, your brain physically alters itself. It builds new neural pathways.
So it's like walking through a dense forest. The first time you try to say a sentence, there is no path. You are hacking through the brush, and it is exhausting.
Exactly. But the more you practice that sentence, the more you walk that path, the brain starts paving it.
Oh, that makes sense.
It coats those specific neural connections in a substance called myelin, which acts like insulation on an electrical wire, making the signal travel faster and faster. This process, myelination, happens whether you are 15 or 85.
So Luna's uncle is just factually incorrect.
Completely. In fact, learning a complex skill like a language is one of the most rigorous workouts you can give your brain.
Like a heavy lifting session for your neurons.
Exactly. It builds what neurologists call cognitive reserve. This reserve literally thickens the gray matter in your brain, which has been shown to significantly delay the onset of age-related cognitive decline, like dementia.
That's incredible.
So you aren't too old to go to the brain gym. Rather, the older you get, the more critical the brain gym becomes.
That is incredibly empowering. It takes language learning from being this heavy, impossible burden you missed out on and turns it into a proactive, anti-aging superpower.
Beautifully said.
As the source says, age is just a number. Your motivation is what matters. But speaking of gyms, that leads to the other classic logistical excuse. I have no money. I can't afford expensive tutors or immersion schools.
A very real constraint historically, but the landscape has fundamentally shifted.
It really has. The source points out the beautiful irony here. They're debunking the no money excuse on a show that is 100% free to listen to.
Yep.
We live in the digital age. The internet is an absolute gold mine. There are free videos, free articles, free apps, and free online communities where you can swap languages with native speakers. And let's not forget, the oldest, greatest free resource in human history, the public library.
The barrier to entry regarding capital has essentially dropped to zero. The currency required for learning today is not dollars. It is attention and consistency.
Attention and consistency, you just need a simple plan, like the 10 minutes a day we talked about. Which brings us, finally, to the ultimate procrastinator's lie.
You boy.
The final boss of all excuses.
The most dangerous one of all.
I'll start on Monday.
There it is.
It is chilling how universal this is. We tell ourselves, I will get serious, I will start next week. But as the source brilliantly points out, somehow, Monday never truly arrives.
Never.
Because when that Monday finally dawns, we wake up, we look at the sky, maybe it is a little suspicious,
Yeah.
and we say, next Monday. The source calls this the circle of excuses. You were just endlessly walking in a loop, getting nowhere.
This raises an important question. Why are we so universally obsessed with starting on Mondays?
Good question.
Why can't we start on a Thursday afternoon at 3:43 p.m.? Why do we feel this deep psychological craving for a clean slate?
That is exactly what I want to know. Why is a random Tuesday not good enough?
It has to do with a fascinating cognitive bias known as the illusion of the future self.
The future self.
Yes. Brain imaging studies have shown something incredible. Well, when you think about yourself in the present moment, a specific area of your brain lights up. But when you are asked to think about your future self, the you of next Monday, that area dims and a completely different part of the brain activates.
Wait.
It is the exact same part of the brain that lights up when you think about a total stranger.
Wait, you are saying that on a neurological level, my brain views Monday me as a completely different person.
Yes, your brain processes your future self as a stranger. So when you say, I'll start learning English on Monday, you aren't making a commitment. You are essentially delegating a difficult task to a fictional character.
Oh my gosh.
You are imagining this Monday stranger who is somehow magically disciplined, perfectly rested, has no chores, and possesses infinite willpower.
That is mind-blowing. We are literally offloading the hard work onto a superhero version of ourselves that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
We are tricking ourselves to alleviate the guilt of not working today without actually having to put in any effort.
Exactly. It resolves the cognitive dissonance immediately. You get the emotional reward of having made a plan while still getting to sit on the couch today.
Because the stranger will do it next week.
Right. But of course, when Monday arrives, you don't wake up as a superhero. You wake up as the exact same tired, busy person you were on Thursday. And so the circle continues.
So how do we defeat the final boss? How do we break the circle of excuses?
The source gives the only mathematically viable answer. You have to step out of the circle immediately.
Yes, the final mandate is crystal clear. Start now, W, not in an hour, not after dinner, not a magical Monday,
Yeah.
right now.
Right now.
And they make it so accessible. They say even if starting now just means learning one single new word, even if it just means walking into your bathroom, looking in the mirror, and saying hello out loud to yourself.
The scale of the action is entirely irrelevant. The immediacy of the action is what matters.
Yes.
By taking action now, no matter how microscopic, you destroy the illusion of the future self. You prove to your nervous system that you are capable of doing hard things in the present moment. You shatter the loop.
Just say hello to the mirror today. It is such a profound, empowering shift. Well, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today, unpacking the layers of our own self-deception. Let's pull all these threads together.
We have certainly taken a comprehensive tour through the architecture of procrastination.
We really have. We started by dismantling the illusion of the suspicious sky, recognizing how our brains act like a PR firm, inventing external weather problems to mask our internal fears of failure. We learned how to bypass the no-time excuse with some philosophical dishwashing, proving that you don't need 3 hours and a serious face to learn. You just need 5 minutes and an awareness of the warm water to lower your affective filter.
We also recognize the danger of staring at the overwhelming peak of the mountain, learning instead to manufacture our own dopamine by looking at our feet, gamifying our learning, and celebrating small victories.
Right. And we embrace the extreme vulnerability of the stumbling baby. We realize that physiological panic is normal, but that mistakes are the very mechanism of growth.
Absolutely.
We learned that a simple smile isn't just polite. It is a biological hack to calm our nervous system and foster human empathy. We visited the free brain gym to build new neural pathways, debunking the myth that we are ever too old.
Never too old.
And finally, we confronted the neurological illusion of Monday and broke the infinite circle of excuses by committing to start right now.
It is a robust, scientifically backed framework for overcoming human inertia.
And I want to remind you, the listener, while the fantastic source material we explored today from Luna and Stephen was specifically geared toward learning English, this framework applies to absolutely any intimidating mountain in your life.
Without a doubt.
Do you want to learn to code? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to start exercising? You have 5 minutes today. You do. You have the ability to take one absurdly small step.
The friction of the human mind is universal, but therefore the tools to overcome that friction are also universal.
Exactly. So I'll leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We spent a lot of time today talking about the fear of bad grammar and how the ultimate antidote to that fear is a warm smile and a willingness to stumble forward like a toddler in order to connect with another human being.
Yeah.
But think about the world we are entering right now. We're moving incredibly fast into an era where artificial intelligence can flawlessly translate our words in real time through an earpiece. The technology for perfect instant grammar already exists.
The logistical need for language learning is rapidly diminishing.
Right. Which leaves us with a fascinating, provocative question. If an app can provide the perfect grammar, then in 5 years, will the only reason left to learn a language be to prove to someone that you care enough about them to stumble, be vulnerable, and smile through the effort?
That's a powerful thought.
If the ultimate goal is just human connection, what other impossible mountains in your life are waiting for you to simply walk up, look in the mirror, and say hello today?